market's going to perform. That's the Keller Williams standard, theoretically.
Hey.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Is what I'm hearing from the Trump camp.
Oh, someone's watching the elections. How are you doing, Julie?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Hey, Brian.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Thank you.
Picture. Papers.
Hello.
At least twice, but maybe 4 times a year to the
Kristen
agents.
says
Change as they learn and grow, their needs change as the economy changes, things roll. And I think it's super important. I think sometimes what we do also is
Where are you going? Why are you being weird?
how to build your team. Do you want help with that? So we can have some teams that are already good with that.
What?
And they know it, but we have some emerging leaders that
We'll give people a couple more minutes to get in before we start doing our accountability.
and then we have the others that need how to go from contract to close. So I love that there's an opportunity
what?
here for us to look. The most important thing is that we are looking at all the leaders and making sure we have training for everyone.
Is that a baby?
Bye, baby. He's being grunty.
Don't need it as much, we don't think, everybody does because everybody's.
What do you think? You gonna train today? Are you gonna train today? Mwah, 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 mwah. What? What?
Another thing that I think is an opportunity. I'm looking at number 13.
Hey, Molly.
Man, that's a very.
Hi.
So I might take this survey and go deeper and go, do we need people to learn?
Okay, give people one more minute. We're all a bunch of realtors. We've like mastered this fashionably late thing.
And so that's where we get real deep with our people to understand how do versus, hey, if you want this to be a calendar, so let's just get that checked.
I always say, so okay, I'm gonna send you calendar.
All right, so let's go through the accountability. We want to share how many contacts we've made, and then any appointments or new contracts, you can share that as well. And we will start with, let me start at the top of my list. Eileen.
Hi, everybody. Hold on. I'm just toggling over to my stuff here. Be right back. Okay, here I am. It's good afternoon, actually. Sorry about that. Okay, so last night I was watching the elections, so I updated a lot of stuff in my command. I had a bunch of business cards I hadn't entered, so I entered 7 new contacts last night, and then I updated some of my tasks, you know, like follow up that I talked to people and updated that and put in my next steps. I met at 11 o'clock this morning with a local lender, so we're going to work on some marketing stuff together. So that was a really good conversation. It's actually the guy who closed the loan on our house when we moved here 3 years ago.
Good.
And I sent, I don't know how many it was. I think I mentioned I got some responses to my Facebook business page. So maybe 5 or 6 instant messages. I didn't count them. No contracts to talk about yet.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Molly.
So yesterday I worked all day. I sell cars. So it was a bell to bell today. And I took a break to do the class yesterday, but I'm carrying around an address book at work because I work at a large dealership and know a ton of people. And so for now, I've been on just going around when I have time and talking to the people in the service drive and all around the dealership, getting people's names and letting them know that I'm in real estate. So kind of doing both things at the same time.
Nice.
Good. Good job. Julie.
Hi. So I have 6 new contacts. I did a seller's presentation the other day, and
Excellent.
Saturday I'm meeting with a buyer, showing them a house, and so we'll go from there. They really want to buy the house, so we'll see how that works out.
Perfect. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Alan.
So yesterday I went over to a friend's house and he may be looking to sell it at some point in the future. So I got a feel for that. And other than that, I handed out a bunch of business cards to a business owner in my area. So other than that, just some phone calls.
Great. Amanda.
I've been talking to my sister-in-law actually, about potentially, she has a, for sale by owner right now, and they're looking to potentially, hire an agent to sell it. So I talked to her for quite a while last night, and, sounds like they are seriously thinking about that. So they're probably gonna get back to me today or tomorrow. So I've been trying to work on my, pre-listing packet and my listing packet, to get that in order just in case. And I just reached out to a few of my friends on Facebook that have started following my business page, and kind of just said hi to them. Ordered my business cards, just kind of like all the very beginning stuff. So
Good,
that's where I'm
good
at.
job. Making good progress. Avery,
I did make contact with 3 former vendors that I worked with in the past. So right now it's just spending time getting people that are familiar with me working the last 4 years in one industry to know I've changed over into this industry.
or
I do have a question. There was I think something I read about a change of profession letter.
yes. Yeah, so some people like to do a letter and mail that out to their sphere of influence. But I'd say probably what's become even more common is just people putting it out on Facebook and then texting and calling their sphere. But the designs in KW Command has some templates for that. And then the eEdge marketing area has some templates for announcing that you're in real estate or have joined KW as well.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Brian DeBose.
Hi, yeah, it's been a while since I've been to Ignite. This past week, I guess I've probably, or within this week, probably talked to about 5 or 6 people, not too many. I did get one under contract last night, and we're gonna sell their house, so that's going on the market today. Yeah,
Great.
so.
Jeff.
Hi, I've just been adding my wife's contacts on Facebook and working on getting them entered into Command, and that's
Excellent.
really about it for now.
Okay, good. Make sure you're reaching out to them and making personal contacts too. Jessica.
Hi, everyone. So I did get in contact with the potential condo that we're trying to relist. I spoke with him Monday night and had a pretty lengthy conversation. He's not going to be back in town until December 26th, and he wants to get together and discuss whether or not he wants to go FSBO or list. I'm trying to convince him to, list with me and market it and do all those good things. And I'm also starting to work on my listing presentation and got quite a bit of mailers out as well to my sphere. And I'm starting to think about Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna go get some Thanksgiving cards and start mailing those out as well.
Excellent.
I didn't do any prospecting last night. Just the election and life kind of took over a bit, but I am staying proactive with other things.
Excellent. Good job. Carrie.
Yeah, so I'm just continuing to contact people that I know, letting them know that I'm getting in real estate. And I have one appointment tomorrow with my parents who are looking to buy in the area. They're not sure if they want to buy right away or if they want to wait a little bit, but I figured I already know their plans more or less, but I figured, we should have like an actual meeting and figure that out. So
Yeah, that's great because sometimes what we forget to do with the people closest to us, like our closest friends or family, is forget to kind of establish that professional relationship.
Mhm.
And then it gets difficult for them to treat you like a professional, or you feel like they aren't treating you like a professional. So that's really great. Sit down and have more of a professional meeting about it and
Yeah,
establish that. That's great. Awesome.
thank you.
Tamara.
Hello. Still just trying to get everything set up. Did my disc, and I'm making sure that anytime I meet somebody new, I'm making sure I'm letting them know that I'm a realtor. I did my MLS class on Monday, the SOMLS and the Rogue Valley Association, the RVAR class, and did the contracts class today also. So just trying to get some of my classes in, and yeah, just trying to get the word out.
Great. Good job. Mona.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I love your class yesterday. It was amazing. I learned a lot from it.
Good.
Yeah. Actually, I'm working with a couple of buyers, but I don't find any inventory for them now in the market. So I'm trying to find a way how to find their needs. I'm having maybe 3-4 buyers currently working with, but nothing in the market meeting their requirement.
Yeah, that's common,
What do you
unfortunately,
advise?
right now. So you have to keep checking daily. And then you can also post on the Facebook groups that you'll see for real estate agents and see if anyone has something coming on soon, or maybe that you haven't thought about.
Okay.
Naseem.
I reached out to somewhere between 10 and 13 folks in my sphere and have started up conversations with probably about half of those people at this point over the course of the last 24 hours. Reached out to a title company, a local title company, to set up a meeting time with them for next week to go over their services. And just been following up, getting all my contacts that didn't transfer over into command, and adding notes for any of them that are active, and then following up with the 4 warm leads that I'm working.
Excellent. Good job. Shannon. Nuri.
Hi.
Hey, how's your contacts going?
Not yet. Not going, because I still have a 0 sphere. I don't know yet. I still need to talk to Matt.
Okay.
So that I just got KW the email address finally this morning.
Good job.
So I can go ahead and finally getting started yet. So I just need
Yes.
to, I have a meeting with him on Friday so that I can finishing up on KW side so that I can see what I need to do. So I asked him questions before, so he said he will give me more answers on Friday.
Good. Perfect. Yeah. And meanwhile, start going through some of your contacts in your phone and stuff too.
Okay.
Everyone's got some of a sphere.
Okay.
Alicia.
Hi, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I have reached out with a title company and a lender, set up a couple of meetings to get some information and go over, again, as Naseem said, what they offer. And also I've been reaching out to my past sphere, just reconnecting, seeing how they're doing with COVID, what their lives are like, if there's anything that I can do, letting them know that I'm in real estate. And then I also have a few leads that I've reached out to that I've gotten to come in from a lead service I'm paying for. And I haven't gotten anybody to answer yet, but I have left messages and I'm getting ready to follow up.
Good. Yeah. Keep following up with them. Good. Okay. Excellent. Well, did I miss anyone?
Mara, I have a quick question.
Yes.
What about these lead services? I've been called by a couple of them, and what do you think about that?
I definitely think that some of them are better than others. You have to kind of control your expenses and question what they're providing you. I've utilized some that have been great for like very little cost, and then there's some that are just astronomical and don't have great turnover. Anything like that's considered an internet lead. So that kind of goes back to the internet leads class that we talked about, that you have to be on them consistently, frequently, aggressively, and that's not everyone's style. So you have to follow up with them and then understand that sometimes it's a long-term game. You're not going to have huge conversion rates from it. So even really, really good converting agents will have a 6 to 10% conversion rate. So depending on what that would look like with how many leads you're getting, sometimes that makes sense and sometimes it doesn't.
So what would be considered reasonable versus exorbitant? I mean, is there a range or
kind of depends on what you're getting and the quality of leads you're getting. So for instance, I spend like on the ones that I get that are internet leads that I pay for, it's like $12 a lead. And I do get about a 10% return on those. And so for me, that's fine. I would never, ever sign up for Zillow.
Yeah.
But some people love Zillow and get great success from it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mara, I have a question.
Yes.
What about Opcity? I overheard from other companies they're saying that they sign up for Opcity. Is it part of the internet lead generation? Is it also?
Yeah, but the way that Opcity works is that you only pay for the leads if you close, but then it's a referral fee. So you pay quite a bit per lead, but you only pay for the ones that you actually close the deal with. And then you pay for them at closing. So it's not an upfront out-of-pocket cost.
So which one's more reasonable, like a Zillow or other Trulia or Opcity?
I would not do Zillow or Trulia at all, especially not in the beginning, because the cost is extremely high for what you're getting. And just to give you an example, so in 2018, I don't know what 2019's numbers were, but 2018 there was 5.5 million homes sold in the United States. So all of the United States, all of the homes was 5.5 million, which means that there was how many potential real estate deals?
5.5 million.
11 million, right? Because double the amount of houses sold, one buyer, one seller for each sold property. So 11 million. Zillow sold like 176 million internet leads.
Wow.
So
yikes.
There was possibility for 11 million, and how many people actually got their agent off of Zillow instead of referral? Very few, because about 85% of people use an agent that was referred to them. So then out of the 15% of those deals that may have been an internet lead, and then the small portion of those that may have been a Zillow internet lead, a lot of agents paid a lot of money for leads that didn't go anywhere. So I just always kind of compare it to that. Like, how much am I going to spend for that return on my investment?
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Okay, so introducing our instructor, who we are still waiting for, but I'll read her bio. So Stephanie has been a real estate agent since she was 18 years old, which was in 2006. So she was one of the rare forms that actually graduates high school and she knew she wanted to be a real estate agent. She jumped right into real estate. It's really uncommon for people to do that, but started very young with Keller Williams. She's been on the ALC for 8 years. And in 2016, she earned her principal broker license. In 2019, she sold over 50 homes, just as herself. And in 2018, she sold over 92 homes, just as an independent agent with a bunch of staff support. So she has 2 full-time staff on her team that help her with her transactions and marketing. In 2018, she received the Eugene 20 Under 50 Rising Business, 20 under, I think that's supposed to say 20 under 30, Rising Business Star Awards. So yes, she has a fabulous person to learn from, does a high level of business, has a great sphere. So pretty much all of her business is referral based. One thing I will notate about today's class is that if you are not in the RMLS system, just follow her thought processes and what she's doing, because the system that she will utilize when she is showing you examples will be the RMLS system. So yours will look a little bit different when you go in there into your RMLS or into your WVMLS or the Central Oregon MLS. But the ideas behind what she's doing will be the same. In tomorrow's CMA class, we are actually going to break you out into breakout rooms with your specific MLS so you can see how it's done in your MLS system as well. And she'll pull information, for example, from an area in her class called RLID. And every area has their own version of that. So we'll go over what that would be for you and how you get access to it. So don't worry too much about your system not looking exactly like hers if you aren't in the MLS system. We will dive deeper into that tomorrow so you guys all have the same answers, but this way you have an idea of learning to price to sell, because it'll be relevant to everyone. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Oh,
Perfect. Anything, any other questions? We'll wait from her. She
Mara.
should seriously be here any minute. Yes.
So I don't know, you told me told everybody yesterday, say you're going to email us for the yesterday's material.
Yes. Has that not gone out yet?
I haven't received yet.
Okay, hold on. Let me text Paris.
I don't know anybody else did it or not, but I have not received it.
Me too, I didn't receive it. I was
Okay.
looking forward for it.
Okay, that should be out to you today for sure. Anything else? Little baby's dreaming. Okay, let's see.
Weird.
All right. All right, let's open up to your books. And I think since we already went over expectations and your accountability, let's do while we wait for her, your 15 to 20 minutes of calling. And that way that's all the way out of the way and she doesn't have to break for that when she's going through material. So go ahead and mute yourselves. Take out your contacts and let's get a couple contacts in, try to set some appointments up for ourselves, even if it's just a coffee date with someone in our sphere or a Zoom date.
Mara, how long are we doing this for?
Let's say 15 minutes. So let's come back. Well, that would leave us an odd number. Let's come back at 1:45 even.
Okay.
18 minutes. Karen, you just jumped in to call time, so go ahead and make a couple contacts and be back at 1:45.
Can't find it.
We're gonna do a business planning clinic.
Karen, can you hear now?
Kenai Peninsula, and Josh Lulu is gonna teach the business planning side. I'm gonna take an hour and teach, what profit share looks like for you and wealth in the long term, and that it's not about recruiting, it's about your business in the long term, and that we'll do the recruiting as your leadership team. You just need to let us know who we need to talk to and give us the warm lead.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because, guys, I would tell you, one of the best times to start having this conversation with people is when you bring them on. So when they're new and fresh and they're excited about being there, saying, well, who else should be here, right? And helping them. But in order for that to happen, that means that you have to be teaching on a regular basis, profit share in the market center. All right, guys, I'm showing that we are at 1:36. $146.
Can you hear me now, Karen? Perfect. 2-minute warning. All right, guys. Everyone,
Hey,
come on
Mara,
back if you
can I ask you
can.
a question on
Yes.
RMLS?
Yep.
When you do an initial search based upon a particular client's criteria and you've got them in there for auto emails, do you know if the results of that search are automatically sent to that client? I've set this one individual up just to get him twice a week, but I would like to make sure he got this initial batch.
Yes, so they will send them, like once you save that search and have them set up as a prospecting profile, then it will send them the new things that come in within their search.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Anyone have any big wins with their contacts? No, okay.
I have one question real quick regarding RMLS too, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So I just signed up for it, and there was an option to pay an extra fee to get a card, or just use the app. And I selected just using the app. Is that an okay choice for this point?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much what people do. If there was a scenario where there was a house that was like way out of range for cell service, most listing agents will put a contractor box on there anyways and just list like that code, because most people just use the app now.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry guys, I'm gonna put you down for just a minute and plug in my laptop because it is telling me it is going to die, which I'm gonna need the info from that. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay. All righty. Oops, I'm not muted right now. Perfect. So that should put you guys on page. Number 10. So get your head in the game. Helping sellers determine the correct price for their property is part of the value you bring to them. Pricing can be easy with a properly prepared comparative market analysis, also known as CMA. Presenting your CMA and discussing pricing with the seller are the two major components of the listing appointment. I actually sometimes call my CMAs competitive market analysis because the goal is to price that competitively. You've already learned that the dominant role your mindset plays in success in real estate sales. It's the same with your seller. So a truth is pricing has a large mindset component, both for you and your seller. Pricing is a process. Learning to do it well also requires knowing pricing strategies based on the principles that drive markets. It also requires knowing pricing tactics, building and presenting a comparative market analysis, and the scripts that go with it. You will use your knowledge and expertise in pricing and presentation to win the seller's agreement on the list price, a price that will get their home sold. Let's see. Oh, Stephanie's loading it now as well, so she'll be here to take over in just a moment. I don't want to get too far in it and throw her off. I think one of the biggest problems we come up with in pricing properties currently is the lack of comparisons, because with our inventory having been so low for a while now, sometimes it's really hard to find what we would consider a good comparable, or we have to stretch that parameter a little bit to find something that satisfies us. And sometimes we find ourselves, oh, why is my video off? Find ourselves utilizing a comparable that we may not think is super comparable, like properties on land is always an example of that. So, right, sometimes when we have acreage in the picture, then there's not a ton of properties with acreage. So if we're trying to find something super similar to that house and on acreage, that can make it difficult. So we have to kind of widen those search parameters to include things that might not be apples to apples, but give us a good idea. And one of the ways that I try to think about it sometimes is, okay, if I'm thinking like a buyer who's looking for my home, if I want acreage, for instance, I might not really care if that acreage is in Cresswell or Cottage Grove or Junction City. I might just want to be within 20 minutes of town, and all of those places are. And so sometimes we'll compare properties in those areas as well if it's on the outskirts. So just some tidbits. And then when we do have properties that have, are very hard to price because they're either very unique or there's just not really any comparables. One of the scripts that I will use, especially if I think that they might be, talking to other real estate agents for their opinion as well, is, hey, no one's going to be able to come in here and tell you exactly what this home is going to sell for. If they did, they'd be bluffing, because in this market, we just don't know. But what we do know is that our marketing strategy is a proven successful marketing strategy. So all that we're testing is the price, and our marketing will let us know if we've priced correctly or not. So those are just some of my favorite tips or tidbits. And then after these classes, anytime that you guys do a CMA for a seller, if you want me to look over or review it, definitely email it to me and I can give you feedback, or try to maybe help find some other comparables that you can add to it, or ones that I don't think are very good to be used. Maybe we take those away. Oh, was that her? Is she here? Yes, look it. It's our famous Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Okay, so I just went through page 10 to get your head in the game with them. They've already done their calling, so they don't have to do that for you later. And they've already done all of their accountability. So they are primed and prepped for you to dive right into your material. and they've already heard how amazing you were. So I already introduced you. You missed your introduction.
Okay. Great.
But they know. All right, I'm gonna let you take it away.
Okay. How do I do that, Mara?
Just start talking.
Okay. Does it?
Well, do you need help? You know how to screen share and everything, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So you're good. They're
Okay.
all there for you. You
Okay.
have
So
20 people. Here.
As I understand it, we have a bunch of people from a bunch of different market centers. And so some of you are going to use different county records information, and then some of you are going to use a different MLS system, is what it sounds like to me. So
Yep.
What I'm going to demonstrate for you today is how I would do a market analysis report in order to determine a price for a seller. So I'm going to go through that. And again, I guess I would say it sounds like some of you might use a different system. So take the concepts away, and I will do my best to help us get through this. So first thing I like to go over is kind of like how we maybe start the process. So most of the time, I'll get like a call from a potential seller. And so I kind of like to go through, kind of like from initial, just the call that you get, to how I like to take the information in, and then do the market analysis report, and then furthermore get the house listed, and then what we would do from that point forward. So in our area in Lane County, we use what's called RLID, and I don't know if any of you guys have access to that. It's RLID, so Regional Land Information Database. If you're not in our area, I suspect that your county will have something very similar to that. So maybe check with your team leader on specifically what that is. And then even if there is a cost for it, I would highly recommend that you get signed up for it. So first thing I would do is typically the call comes in, and then the person is saying, yeah, hi, we're calling because, we want to sell our house, or, whatever the reason is, and we're thinking about doing this, so on and so forth. So hopefully if I'm at my computer, then I'm able to pull up the information on the house right away, so that while they're on the phone with me, I can sort of start asking them some questions. So I like to start this out by kind of showing you how I would pull up that information, and then furthermore, kind of the line of questioning that I might have once I had pulled it up. So what I would do, I'll work on the screen share thing here. Hold on. Okay. That's not what I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm trying to show you RLID. Can you see that now?
Yes, I can see it.
Maybe, no? Okay, cool. Okay, so RLID, this is me. This is for Lane County. And so if you're here in like my market area, this is what you would use. But again, like I mentioned, if you're not, and I understand some of you are in other areas, then you might use something different, but it would be probably pretty similar information. So the first thing that I would do is, while I have the person on the phone, I would try to go in and look up the property address. So for an example today, I am going to use a house in Cottage Grove that will be listing in the next couple days on Kalapuya as my example. So okay, so here we go. So 405 Kalapuya, and my seller is Chris Kallmeyer, and so that is who is calling me today. So as I pull up the information, Okay, can you guys see the information on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So couple things. Well, I have the guy on the phone that I'll probably want to go over and confirm. So I usually kind of ask them some questions that I see right here in the general building characteristics. So I'll say, okay, Chris, I understand you want to sell your house. I'm seeing here that it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Is that correct? And yes or no. I'll also ask, okay, so county records is showing it's 1194 square feet. Does that seem accurate to you? Probably he's going to say yes. Really what I'm trying to do in this conversation is I'm trying to ascertain what type of personality they are. So you guys have probably learned about the DISC personalities, or the DISC personality profile, as we talk about in this course. So if really my question, like, yes, I want the answers, but I also kind of want to know who I'm dealing with so that I can create my presentation in a way that will be tailored to them and whomever their personality is. So when I say, is it 1194 square feet? If he's a D, he's not really going to care. He's going to rush me off the phone. If he's an I, he's going to giggle and he's going to be like, I don't know. If he's an S, he's going to be really quiet because I'm asking him a serious question and he's scared of me. If he's a C, he's going to correct me. He's going to say, I think it's actually 1193 square feet in a quarter, or he's going to give me some sort of information or detail about this. And then throughout my questioning, he's going to do the same thing. So it's kind of important for me to start asking those questions just so I can kind of figure out who I'm dealing with. So first thing I do is I ask kind of those tester questions. Okay, I see it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and it was built in 2002, and it's 1194 square feet. Does that sound right to you? So again, how he answers the question is going to tell me what type of personality he is. The other thing that I'm looking for as I go through this are, I want to make sure that Chris, who I'm talking to, is my seller. Sometimes you have situations where you have other people on title, or you have other people like on the loan perhaps, that might be on there because maybe they co-signed for the person, or that was the ex-spouse, or perhaps it's somebody that is now deceased. So up here, I'm seeing that there's one name here, Christopher Marshall Kammeyer. I also will scroll down to where it talks about the taxpayers, just to make sure that I have the same person. And if I don't, sometimes that'll be another question that you'll want to ask, because when you go in for your presentation and the listing, you're going to want to make sure that you have all of the decision makers present at the same time. And if you don't, for some reason, then you'll want to kind of have that conversation up front. So the two scenarios that I would bring up that have come up before that have been maybe issues would be, number one, if let's say they were divorced, right? So a lot of times if people get divorced, in the divorce decree, it will delineate who is awarded the house. However, what people don't understand is that unless they actually go down and record a new title at the courthouse, then they're actually still both on title. Now, the spouse that was awarded the house, yes, they have the rights to it and everything, but the other spouse is going to have to come and sign at the title company if they hadn't taken care of that step. And a lot of people, surprisingly, don't get told that. So sometimes that is a surprise. The other thing that I see come up a lot would be maybe if somebody has passed away. And a lot of times I feel like you're going to hear that in the initial conversation. You know, when you ask them why they're selling and kind of go through that, they're going to say, oh, well, my husband passed away, or my wife passed away, or my father, or whatever, right? And so then you'll probably have a clue to that. The only reason why I say to bring this up at this time is because when you get to the title company for closing, they actually have to have the original death certificate at that time. And sometimes, you know, once you're in the midst of trying to move, sell the house, going through this whole process, and then you have to come up with this death certificate, you're now kind of putting your seller in like a really stressful situation. So sometimes I would maybe advise to sort of have this conversation up front if you know it's going to come up. That way they can, you know, kind of get a head start on getting this information, and it doesn't surprise them at the 11th hour. The other thing I will add is I had once a situation where there was like 5 siblings, and they were selling the property, and the parent had passed away. It was years ago, but they, for whatever reason, had just kind of got around to doing the sale. And I don't know what happened, but one of the siblings that had the death certificate had misplaced it. And so we got to closing and, well, they didn't have it. And so they had to contact DHS and have them prepare a new original and then mail it to them. And as you might imagine, DHS really didn't care that we had a closing coming up in 2 weeks, and they really weren't hurrying to get this stuff to us. And so it caused kind of a delay. So it was like 6 weeks to get that. So again, another reason why, you'd really want to pay attention to this section here and just make sure that you don't have any other spouses on title, deceased people on title, or anything like that. The other thing I look for on here too, as I have them on the phone and we're talking about it, would be under the permit section. So, and again, I'm sure whatever other systems you guys use, you'll have something really similar, but it'll show building permit. So here we have nothing. The house was built in 2002, so I wouldn't imagine that they had done much to it, but I suppose potentially they could have, but that'd be a place where I'd want to check and see, hey, it shows that you have a permit here for an addition. Tell me more about that, whatever the case may be. The other thing that I will ask about is up here where you see environmental data. It'll talk about the FEMA flood zone. So 2 things with that. If the property truly is in a flood zone, then likely the new buyer is going to be required to carry flood insurance. And sometimes that can be quite expensive depending on the area that it's in and the flood zone and that sort of thing. And it's all determined by FEMA. So if I see this here where it says that it is in a flood zone, then I will ask on the phone, hey, so I'm seeing that it's in this flood zone. Do you pay flood insurance? And the only thing that I would caution with that as like kind of a red flag is sometimes, especially if it's in a situation where this person has owned the home for a very long time, or perhaps they have it paid off, then they don't have a lender that is requiring them to carry flood insurance. So they may not be carrying it. However, a new buyer that is going to purchase the home, they're going to be required to carry the flood insurance. And sometimes that can be, again, like I said, a couple $1,000s a year. So therefore that can really impact your buyer. So that'd be just another question to ask. And if they say no, then I would ask them, and do you have a loan on the house? That would be my follow-up question, because that would probably determine. And if they act like they just really don't know what the heck you're talking about, but you're seeing that clearly it's in a flood zone, then what I would tell you to do is probably just call your own insurance agent that you have a relationship with and say, hey, run this for me and tell me, would a new buyer need to carry flood insurance? And then what would be the rate? And just understand that FEMA is who provides the flood insurance. So it's the same rate. It doesn't matter if you call Farmers, State Farm, any other insurance provider, it's FEMA that is providing that. So it's going to be the same no matter who you call. So I would do that just so you kind of have that in your back pocket to know, because that's another thing you don't really want to be like surprised with. So if they tell me, yep, all this information is correct, and I think, okay, this is probably a pretty straightforward assessment of a home, and I know who I'm dealing with, it's just this one person, Chris, so then I'm going to say, okay, great, I'll set an appointment with the client to come out and look at the home, and then I will typically prepare the market analysis however, in some cases, if I show up and the house is totally trashed, or it's like the Taj Mahal, and one way or the other, like my market analysis is totally off, I'll probably just hide it in my little folder and I won't bring it out, but I like to have it kind of ready to go just in case everything seems to line up. So the next step for this is I would then go into the RMLS. So let me log in there. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking for comparable sales. So the first way I'll do this is I want to narrow it down by like the location, then size of the home, and then I would go for like bedrooms, bathrooms, and then like age. So in our MLS, we use what's called advanced search. So I'll go there first. This particular home is located in Cottage Grove. So for here, that's called South Lane. So then we go the statuses of the property. So for your market analysis report, you're never actually going to use a coming soon or an active in your report. However, when you're going through and doing your research, I think it's important to know, you know, what is out there that's active, because really that's like kind of your competition. So for this, like I go through it anyway, just so I can kind of see. For pendings, right now things are going pending. I mean, our inventory is like it's under a month, 1 month. And so I would never go back more than like 3 months for a pending. And for a sold, I probably wouldn't really go back more than 3 months either, because again, most things are selling in under a month. So something that is 90 days old, I think represents a fair comparable. And especially since at the speed within which real estate moves, which is usually like 30 to 45 days, a 3 month probably represents like 2 separate cycles that have now happened. So that will tell me, you know, what the market probably should be prepared for. So I would update those 2 categories. So pending 3 months, sold 3 months. I'm going to do coming soon and active and bumpable just because I just want to know. But again, I'm not going to use this in the report. So we'll hit update. On age. So really all I'm looking for in this is I am looking for that it's kind of just similar in the era within which it was built. So 2002, so if I go year built, then I'll probably go like 1995 up to like, I don't know, 2015, just to get like really new construction, and then stuff that's like 10 years old. So I'll do that. Square foot, I think that's another important one to kind of put in your initial parameters. So that one is just about 1,200 square feet. So I'll probably put in 1,000 to 1,400 just to see what pops up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do in RMLS is I'd hit count and I'd see how many matches I get. So I got 21. So that's probably more than I really need, but I'm going to stick with it because in this particular category of South Lane, that's going to encompass Crestwell, Cottage Grove, and then maybe a couple of other smaller communities down in that Sutherland County area. For your market analysis report, you probably want like between 3 and 6 properties. An appraiser only has to use 3. So if you liken it to like their metrics, I think that that's fine. If you were to click this and get like 45, then I would say you've cast a net that is too wide. And so we need to, you know, tone that down a little bit and do, you know, add some more parameters. For areas, and I'll speak about Eugene because that's where I'm located. There's some areas that we use that would be like South Eugene or West Eugene that are really big on the map. And so they really don't help you to narrow down like the specific neighborhoods. And like East Eugene's a great example of that, because anything that's really close to like the University of Oregon is going to be far more expensive than something that's also in East Eugene, but it's way up the hill towards Spencer's Butte. It's a completely different market. So another little trick I have would be to go to elementary school, and then you can put in whatever school that is, and that will help kind of take it down to just like that specific little neighborhood, and then you can personally kind of narrow that down as you go through that. So for this one, I'm pretty sure it's Bohemia, but I'm going to leave it out because this is a different type of market. That's just like a little tip for you guys. So 21 matches, that works. So then I'm going to hit search, and then it's going to show me kind of on a list what pops up. So as I mentioned, this is in Cottage Grove, and I don't want anything that's in Crestwell. So I'll sort it by city. And then what I'll do is I'm going to check the ones that are pending and the ones that are sold. And it looks like if I just look at that, I've got 1, 2 pending, and then just like 4, 5 that are sold. So that's actually that's a great number, and that was kind of why I didn't narrow it down any further. These ones here that stuck in, these are all sold, not listed. I'm not going to use those. So then I'll go to select report, and I'm going to go to agent full. So in this report, what I'm looking for is I'm just kind of looking to see, so, you know, let's look at the houses and let's see how they compare to the one that we're currently looking at. So Benjamin, and in Cottage Grove, for those of you that don't know, it's a cute little community just south of Eugene down the freeway. You know, most of these properties are all going to be probably pretty similar. Let's see if it'll make this bigger for me. Maybe not. Okay. So as I look through it, I see this is a 3-bed, 2-bath. It's 1169 square feet. Looks like it's nice. There's not a whole lot to write home about here. Just a nice kind of standard home. And it looks like it's probably pretty similar to the one that we are going to list. It was built in 2004. So, okay, so I'll probably use that as a comparable. Here, I think this is a okay, so somebody miscategorized this. So this is another good thing to talk about. I'm glad this came up. So with the MLS and any system that you use, you're kind of depending on like the agent that input the information into the system. And agents are human, and so sometimes they will input things wrong. So this one appears that it's actually like a manufactured home in a park. And so somebody accidentally must have put it in as a stick-built home. And so again, like it's totally showing up in the wrong spot. So sometimes when I'm pulling my comparables, I will kind of make up for the fact that agents might have put something in wrong. And so I'll maybe cast a wider net. So another like example of what I would do would be in Santa Clara, for instance, and this again is a Eugene thing. So Santa Clara and River Road are two areas that are like right next to each other. They're different areas, right? But unless the agent actually pulled out the map and figured out which area the house was in, it's very possible that they have miscategorized one of the comparables. And so therefore I will always select both, and then I will personally just kind of weed through what should or shouldn't be in that category. And this would be another great example. And then if you're looking for a buyer for a house, sometimes if you put in categories that like shouldn't be there, like attached versus detached, which pertains to the house itself, like is the house a detached single family residence or is it an attached family residence? So if you go detached, sometimes there's agents out there that maybe don't do a lot of business. I don't know what their deal is, but they think that means the garage. And so therefore, I have seen many, many times where they have miscategorized a property based upon that fact. And so sometimes that's a great opportunity for your buyer to get a good deal because it's not going to show up on Zillow or any of the other sites because they put it in wrong. So there's a tip. Okay, next one here. So we see this one on 8th Street in Cottage Grove, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1242 square feet. That is similar. This here is also built kind of in the same era. So I think it's a good comparable. You know, looks pretty similar to the one that we are evaluating. Looks like it's probably got some snazzy features. It looks like they've kind of upgraded the light fixtures. Looks like they put new mirrors in. It looks really, really nice actually in the photos. So I think this is one that might be probably nicer than the one that we are evaluating. So I see here, as I scroll down, it was listed for $299 and it looks like it sold for $307.50. So, which is a little bit more. And then the other thing I'll look at here is it shows all offers to be reviewed Tuesday, September 8th at 10 a.m. so on and so forth. And so when I see that, basically it tells me that they were expecting probably a lot of interest in the property, and it's likely that they got multiple offers. It is also likely that they got multiple offers because the price of the home is of course more than it was listed for. So that makes also some more sense to me. So I would think that it probably got multiple offers, and that's of course something I could call the listing agent and verify. Next one here, also on 8th Street. So right there, also in Cottage Grove, also looks newer. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1185 square feet. This one looks like it maybe had some updates, but not a ton. And then there's no notes in the private remarks as to multiple offers or anything special like that. So I would probably just kind of take it at face value, 288, 580. When I scroll down here, I see that they listed it for 275. It sold for 288, 580, and it did so within 6 days. So again, the two things that I will infer, number one, I see that it sold for a USDA loan, and that's of course a zero down product. And so a lot of times buyers that go with the USDA do so because it's no money down. And if there's no money down, then sometimes they have no down payment, but they also have no closing costs. So oftentimes if you see an elevated sales price like we see here, it maybe didn't necessarily mean that there was a bidding war, but it might have meant that we had a buyer that had great credit, a good job, just no money. And so therefore they elevated the sales price to compensate for that amount of closing costs. So that could be what that meant there. So even though it says 288, 580, it probably was just like a full price offer. Here I see another one. This one does not look very similar to the other properties that we're evaluating. So this might be one that I would take out. I would also take it out because it only has 1.5 baths versus the 2 full that we're evaluating. So this would be probably one I would just go ahead and delete. We have this one here on Samuel, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1323 square feet. So a little bit larger. This is now a pending. I do see on this one, it went pending in 5 days. So my assumption is they likely got 285 or very close to it. This other one here is also pending. This is on 13th and Cottage Grove. I'd say it looks very similar to the subject property. 3-bed, 2-bath, 1288 square feet, and at 320. Blows my mind to think that something like this would sell for 320, but that's the world we live in. So looking at the pictures, it looks like the furnishings were probably nice, which doesn't mean anything. The house itself, if I look at it, I mean, those look to be original cabinets. That's original carpet. Nothing in here looks too terribly exciting. So we'll run with that. This one looks like it actually took 3 weeks to sell, 21 days. They listed for 330. Then they dropped it to 320, and it appears that at the 320 price is when they received the offer. So that for me would be kind of like my threshold of how high you could even list it in order to get an offer, because it's clear that the 330 was too high. So that's all that came up. So then I'm going to go select report. So for this, since I'm doing a market analysis, I'm going to hit CMA report. And then what it will do is it's going to load all of these properties into my market analysis. So we've got Benjamin 8th, Samuel, and 13th. Cool. I also look over here just to make sure that I didn't let anything weird slip in. So I make sure all these are 3 bedrooms. Yep. All of them are 2 bathrooms. Yes. Are all of them about the same square footage? Okay, so that's all good. And then the only other thing I do is I kind of check to see, did any of these sell for a ton more or a ton less than the others? Meaning that maybe something snuck in because there was some other factor that I didn't catch on to. So, I mean, we have outliers kind of on either side. We've got a 210, we've got a 320. And then everything else is kind of right in between that 285 to 300. So probably before doing more research, I can say, yeah, okay, something probably in that range is going to be realistic. I'll hit next. So then I'm going to put my client's name in here. Chris Kammeyer. There we go. Okay. And then save and next. So then I'll start kind of inputting the information about his property. And we are in Cottage Grove. There we go. Okay, Oregon. And okay, save. There we go. I don't have a photo of this home. If I did, I would upload it. My only other trick about that, like if you have the opportunity to go drive by the house before you do your report, then I would say go do it and take a picture, but always know if you should be taking a picture or not, because two scenarios that I've run into. Number one, it's their rental that they're thinking about selling and their tenants are there. So if you go and drive by and take a picture, then you just spook their tenants. So don't do that. So make sure you understand. The other situation is I've had like husband or wife call and be like, I hate my spouse. We're getting a divorce. I want to sell the house. Tell me what it's worth. I drive by and take a picture. The spouse is home. He comes out. He's pissed. So just know, like, should you be doing this or not before you start taking pictures of people's homes. Otherwise, it can create sometimes a awkward situation. So just kind of be respectful of that. Sometimes you can steal a picture from the internet, either like on Google Earth if you don't have the ability to drive by, or sometimes there might be like an old photo in RMLS. And if you're using it just for the purposes of the market analysis report, that's totally fine. You do not, however, want to like steal a photo if you're using it for marketing purposes, because you don't have permission to do that. So either of those scenarios is fine, but I would just kind of be mindful of if you should be taking a photo of someone's home or not. Features. Okay, so then I'm going to refer back to, where did we go here? Sorry. The RLID report here. Just to make sure we have all of our facts right. Okay, so 1194, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2002. Okay, cool. So 1192, 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms. It is not a bank-owned property. The schools.
Stephanie, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You don't need to put in the acreage. You don't want to know the size of the land it's on in your CMA?
Well, I mean, you can. If it was acreage, I'd probably put that in there. Like if you're talking like an acre or more.
Okay.
But the type of property that I was putting in here for the example, I knew it's a cookie cutter house and a cookie cutter subdivision, so I know that's all I'm gonna pull.
Okay.
But yeah, great question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Heating is forced air.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Did you mention you don't add actives in your CMAs?
No.
Okay.
So so when you're doing a market analysis, you're trying to determine what is the average price per square foot it should sell for. And so the only way we can figure that out is by looking at things that have sold or that are currently pending. An active tells us what it's listed for, but it doesn't tell us if that's a good price or not.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. Let's see, got a short sale. And year built 2002. Zoning, low density. Okay, save. Ta-da. And now comparables. So now it's going to show us again the ones that we've chosen. So again, we've got 3 solds, we've got 2 pending. So that's actually a good number because again, remember appraisers, they only have to have 3 solds, and appraisers do have to use solds. They cannot use pendings. For us, like as realtors, a pending is a great example. If we see it went pending in just a couple of days, likely it probably went for that price. So I'm okay using it in my market analysis report. As sold, I'm definitely cool using because clearly that shows the data of like what it sold for. So 3 of those, 2 pendings. I think this is a great list. I'm checking here. The subject property was built in 2002. These are all like within 5 years. I mean, we've got the oldest 99, we've got the newest 04. This is perfect. They're all 3 beds, 2 baths, and they're all roughly right about the same size of home. And then, you know, the other thing too is I see most of these are like kind of the same quality of construction. Like they're not super high end, but they're also not, you know, poorly constructed homes either. So I think this is great. So as long as I'm cool with what I see here, I'm going to hit next. And then it's going to bring me to this section where it'll show us basically that we could add or subtract dollar values based upon different features of the home. So, you know, if I really wanted to, I could go in here and I could say, okay, this is zonal heat, so I'm going to subtract $5,000, and I could just play this game. I personally don't, because I'm not an appraiser, and so that's not really my job to do that. And if I'm going to subtract a certain amount for something, like I'd want to be able to say how I could justify why I did that. And here I'm really just kind of pulling numbers out of a hat. Appraisers have a book that they have to purchase once a quarter, and the book is like $2,000 every quarter. And in that book, it has the actual metrics of like how much something is worth. So like a heating system, an extra bedroom, an extra bathroom, that kind of thing. And that's how appraisers will determine how to appraise property. For me, I don't have that book. I'm not going to pay $2,000 every quarter. So like, it'd be hard for me to say why I think a half bath is worth X or not. So I typically just don't do this, because if you really want to call me out, like I really can't tell you why I did what I did. 14 years in the business, I could probably tell you why I did what I did, but I don't really have facts to back it up. So I'm just not going to. So here, what I usually go by is I kind of look at this little graph. So for the solds, it looks like my median price is $288. My maximum price is $307.50. And then the average price per square foot is $223. And then for the pendings, we've got a $285 and we've got a $302. Or $320, excuse me. So our median becomes $302. And so $232 a square foot versus the $223 a square foot. So if I plug those numbers in right here, it'll auto-populate it for me, and it'll kind of give me like a rough average. So if I go $223 per square foot, that brings me to $265. And then if I go, let's say $232 per square foot, I'm at $276. So, you know, I think I kind of like play with it to see, okay, well, what do I really think this property is worth based upon the comparables I'm seeing? This one, I think we're going to go $289. So we're a little bit higher. But if I compare that to like the average and the median, I mean, the median is $288. And then the minimum price of a pending is $285. So I don't necessarily think that's too high. So I think it's sometimes just kind of a game where you kind of have to look critically with yourself, you know, like, okay, what are we pricing? What are the benefits of this property? And then are the comparables superior or are they inferior? And then why? And then kind of choose a price based upon that. And then a lot of this is really based upon your seller too. I mean, your seller may say, I want to get X. Well, in the market that we're in, I mean, they might actually get X because we're in a kind of a crazy market where things are selling really fast. And sometimes they're not necessarily selling for market value. They're far above because we just don't have any inventory. And so that's just down to supply and demand. So if I look at that, you know, if my seller said I want 300, I'd probably say that's too high. 295, I'd say that's too high. If we're in the 280s, I think we're okay. If we're in the 270s, I'd be super happy. But I will oftentimes indulge them at a higher price as long as we have an agreement that we will agree to make an adjustment if we do not get it sold. And one of the ways that I get them to make that agreement is we look over here at the days on market. So on the solds, we are at an average and a median of 4 days. On the pendings, we are at an average and median of 13. So 13 days, let's just go ahead and call it 2 weeks, okay? So if I say, okay, Mr. Seller, you want to price your house at $295. Okay, fine. I will do that for you. I will do your open house. I will make your flyers. I'll do whatever you want me to do. However, if in 2 weeks we do not have an offer, and statistically speaking, we should, because it looks like the average days on market is 13 for a pending, and frankly, for a sold, it's 4. So we're 3 times what we should be in 2 weeks. and probably right on par what we should be for a pending. If it's not sold by that time, then we need to make a price adjustment. Does that seem fair to you? And if they're logical and they can look at the data here, then they're going to agree with you that you're right. If we're doing this correctly and we're actively marketing the property and we're getting it in front of people, if we don't have an offer in 2 weeks, we are doing something wrong. And so the 3 things we're doing wrong would be price, condition, location. Okay, location we cannot change, right? The only thing we can do to change that would be to lower the price. Condition we can change, but if you have a seller that is unwilling to do that, the other lever that moves that would be price, right? So those are the things that we can do to challenge them as far as if they're wanting to price their property too high. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I would then, so we're at 243 a square foot. So he wants to go 289. So I probably would tell him 279 is really where I'd be more comfortable. And then the max I would go, I wouldn't go any higher than like 295, but I don't even want to tell him that because I don't want him to take any liberties and then want to go higher. So then I look here at the graph and I see, okay, does the graph look okay? Yeah, it looks fine. All right, so then save. And then I'll go to the cover page. So then I always fill this in because this is how it will like auto-populate. If I have a picture, I'll put it in. And then features, a lot of times if I'm getting there like before I've seen the house, but I've seen enough online to kind of know what I'm walking into, then I'll just kind of write something generic just because you want your report to look filled in and like you've kind of like done your research. So I'll say something like open floor plan. Close to schools, shopping, and bus lines. And then like on this one, I happen to know that it does have RV parking, so I'll probably add that. Cool. Report. Okay, so then it will populate the report for you. Okay, so then we have 3-bed, 2-bath, the address, table of contents. It has all the comparables that we've chosen to use. It has a map, so it shows your seller where they're located. Now, if I happen to see on the map that they're like kind of all over the place, or one is like way out, then I might revisit that and change, maybe not include it, like just kind of depending. And then it'll kind of graph them out here. So the other thing I look at is all of these, like how did they sell? So this was conventional. These other 2 were USDA, which is normal for a town like Cottage Grove. And then the pendings, we don't know yet. So when I talk to them about pricing their home, and let's say we're going to go 289, which I think we're going to do. So for USDA, again, we talked about the buyer for that. They typically go with that program because, again, they've got great credit, they've got good jobs, they have good income, they just don't have a lot of savings. So the USDA is attractive because it's a 0 down loan. And then a lot of times what that means is they don't have any money for closing costs either. So sometimes you might want to prep your seller for the fact that the buyer might then ask them to pay their closing costs and then what those might be. So for a property like this, you're probably looking at like $7 grand. So either you can elevate the price to compensate for the closing costs, or just prep your seller for the fact that they might get asked for that and then they might have to pay for that. So then here again, it shows us all the same data, the same graph. And so again, like I think the most important thing to show your seller is that here's the solds we have. We've got 3 of them. We have 2 pendings. These are the average and median sales prices. The average days on market was 13 for a pending. It was 4 for a sold. So if we're doing this right and we've priced your property right, you should not be on the market more than 2 weeks. And if you are, we are doing something wrong. And again, I think any smart person is going to be able to look at the data and be able to interpret that and understand that that's probably correct. The other way you can utilize this report too, especially like for your buyers, if you're working with buyers that just kind of can't grasp that we are in a very competitive market, sometimes I will do a market analysis report for them like this on a fictitious home, but just like the type of house they're looking for, right? if I'm looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath house in Cottage Grove, here's what I can expect to pay. Now, this sentence right here, sold properties are averaging 103.17% of their final list price. This reflects a negative 3.17% difference between the sales price and list price. So if you have buyers that just are not understanding that they have to bid over the asking price in order to get the house, sometimes this statement here can be extremely telling, because it shows them that on average, they're going to have to pay 3.17% over list in order to purchase the home. So then I will further break that down on here on my calculator. So I'm just going to take average price, we'll just call it 288,580 times, and it's 3.17, 0.0317. So that's $10,706.31. So therefore, I can then tell my buyer that that is probably on average what you're going to have to pay over asking in order to purchase a home in this market. And again, if they don't have a house picked out, it's really hard to dispute that data.
Stephanie, when you said that, would you have to add the closing costs on top of that unless the seller wanted to just leave those off? So you're saying you would say they're probably going to pay around almost $300,000. And yeah, the 10,000 plus the 288,580.
That's just what they have to pay to get like to the negotiating table. Closing costs on top of that.
So then you talk with the seller about the closing costs, or if they want to include that, make it higher, or talk about that with the seller if the buyer asks for them, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
So, okay. So then the last thing I do is if I have, so for most of you, and I guess like depending on what market area you're in. So in Eugene, we've got like Fidelity National Title, First American Title, a bunch of the different title companies provide a app. I use Fidelity's, it's called Fidelity Agent, and it will allow you to like do a net sheet for your seller. So what you can do with that is be able to put in how much they're selling the property for, what you're going to charge them for commission. And then if you, let's say you happen to know that there's like going to be an expense that's going to come up, like let's say it needs a new roof or something, and you know what that's going to be, then you can plug that into, and it'll basically show them exactly what they could expect to net after closing. And so I have found that that's super important, because sometimes they just don't realize that not only do they have a commission to pay, but the title company is going to charge them some fees. The county that they are selling the property in is going to charge them some fees. And then they're going to have to pay prorated taxes, and so on and so forth. And so, you know, in addition to the 6% or 5% or whatever amount you're charging them for the sale, they're probably going to have another like 1 to 2% just in like fees, just to sell that property. So oftentimes it's really important to like go over that with them, just so they know that if I'm selling for 289, I'm not really walking away with 289. I'm really probably walking away with like 268. And so the app, I don't think I can show it to you on the Zoom. I'll try here. Okay, so on the app, and I don't think you can even see this, but if I put in the home price, so we're just going to go for this one, 289.9. And then taxes were 2801. If I have their loan balance, then I'll put this in here. This guy, he owes about 170,000, and I just know that because he told me that. Repairs, I don't think we're going to have any because it's a newer home, but if I happen to know like we're going to need to do something, I'd plug that in. So then I hit compute. So it shows me that that based upon a sales price, if he got full price of $289, he really is going to walk away with about $272. And so it graphs it all out, and it actually makes it to where you could like send this to them in a text or on a PDF. So it breaks down all of the closing costs, the title fees, everything that they're going to have to pay all total. So they know exactly what they're going to net when they're done. And so sometimes that's a really important conversation to have up front, because sometimes they have more than one loan. Sometimes they have other things they want to pay off. Sometimes the reason that they're selling is because they want to have X amount to put towards the next property. So I think it's a really good tool to use to be able to show them, like, here's really what you're walking away with. It's not the price. So I do that. I prep them for what a price reduction looks like if we don't get sold. I do think in a market right now, and this is really just for you guys to prove your value, right? Like, I think our industry is overrun with other types of companies that are trying to eliminate the real estate agent. And so in order for us to really demonstrate value, I think that, you know, starting strong, like, you need to have your marketing put together. You need to have good flyers. You need to do an open house. You need to put it on broker tour. You need to demonstrate to your seller that you are doing something to earn that commission, because we get paid an obscene amount of money for a very little amount of work these days because houses are selling so fast. Yeah. And it's so, unless we are able to really prove our value, I mean, I don't know that we're demonstrating that we're worth anything.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So earlier it says that depending on the loan system, so there's a closing cost might be they cannot pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what if in the worst case scenario, what if the seller doesn't want to pay for the closing costs because the buyer don't have enough money to get down? Doesn't matter how much credit they have, how much they have. But what if they can't pay for it? The seller, like, oh, I don't want to pay for it. Then what happens?
Well, I mean, that's kind of your conversation with your seller. So if you only have the one offer, and let's pretend you just have one offer, you have no other interest, just one, and that buyer can't pay their own closing costs, then I would probably tell your seller, look, dude, we have one offer, and here's the one thing that's getting in our way. How do we figure this out? So your options would be, we could elevate the sales price to compensate for that. So again, that's a conversation with your seller to figure out, okay, so is it your net you're concerned about? Is it the amount of money you're walking away with you're concerned about? Like, what, get to the root of what the objection is, I think. And then if it's, you know, you can elevate the price to compensate for that. Or I think it just kind of depends on what the objection is. You know, if your seller says, no, I'm just not going to pay for them out of principle, and not to generalize, but I will say there is a generation of people that I have worked with, and oftentimes they do not believe in paying closing costs because it's kind of just like just a deep-rooted like belief that they have, like buyers should pay their own fees, and so they're not going to pay their fee, and it's just the principle of the whole idea. So if that's the case, then I guess I'd go back to the buyer and say, listen, we're happy to take your offer, but we're not going to pay the closing costs because it's out of principle. And so then it would kind of be up to the buyer to figure out where they're going to come up with that money. So if they could borrow it from a family member, if they could somehow finance it in, I don't know. Those are other options. If they just can't figure it out, then I'd probably go back to your seller and say, look, sorry, they can't come up with it. Do you want to sell your house or not? And if you do, let's go this route and elevate the price, or just pay the fees.
Yeah.
And the only reason I bring it up with this one is because it's USDA. And so again, not to generalize, but a lot of times if they have no money for a down payment, they also don't have money for the closing costs. You'll find a similar situation with FHA buyers. If it's a conventional buyer with 20% down, well, you know, if they have 60 grand to put down, I bet you they can find another 7,000, you know. But sometimes the ones that are going with a program with no money, you know, they maybe truly don't have any money.
Wouldn't a appraisal dictate part of that though?
Yes, but I will tell you the dirty, nasty truth about appraisals right now. So that we don't have enough appraisers, and it's really hard to be an appraiser. So you can get your appraiser's license, and then you have to be an apprentice for like 3 years before you can be an appraiser.
Wow.
And the appraisers are so busy, they don't want apprentices because they slow them down and they don't really like them. So how it works as an appraiser is you get your appraisal orders and they come in and you're getting them all day long. Ding, 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 ding. And so you pick them up and each one is going to be like $1,100, right? So you as an appraiser are going to go out to appraise that house and you get a copy of the sales agreement before you do that. So if you can in any way make sense of that price, you're just going to do it to get it off your desk, okay? So appraisals are completely bogus right now. They mean absolutely nothing. And so as long as you're within an earshot, it's probably going to appraise. If you're like, if it's a $300,000 house and you're trying to do it for 360, we might have some trouble. But if it's somewhere in there, they're just going to fudge the numbers so that it works.
Wow. That's revealing.
I'm not here to sugarcoat information. I will give it to you right between the eyes.
Thank
This
you.
is how it is.
Good to know. Wow.
Stephanie, how do you know what type of loan you should list your home for? Or when it says like terms, how do you know which ones to choose?
So as long as the home is like financeable, like there's no health or safety issues or anything like that, conventional is always going to probably be an option. Cash is always an option. FHA is probably an option as long as it's within the FHA loan limits for that particular county. And you can Google based upon the county that you're in what the loan limit is. USDA is an option if it is like in our area, for instance, if it's outside of Lane County, or not Lane County, but like outside of Eugene, Springfield. So Junction City, Monroe, Coburg, Crestwell, Cottage Grove, whatever, that will all qualify. So that's how I would know. Most circumstances, I'm always going to put cash conventional. I'll put FHA if it's within that threshold of the dollar amount for the particular county it's being listed in, and then USDA if it's in the right geographical location.
Thank you.
Does it say that somewhere? Like when you're looking at the, the report on ARLID, does it say anything about like the geographical area and what financing terms you can put on there, or you just kind of memorize that stuff?
Just memorize it.
Okay.
So for USDA, so that's the tricky. So the two ones that are tricky. Anything will go convention. And again, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to shoot straight with you, right? Okay. So appraisers, unless the house is falling apart and there is like a glaring issue, they're probably going to pass it conventional. They really don't care. They are bombarded with work. They just want to get this crap off their desk so they can move on to the next one. And the other part of that is that if they don't turn their reports in time, the appraisal management company is all over them like a bad rash. So they don't want that. So they are going to turn them around as fast as possible, turn them and burn them. And I'm friends with a lot of appraisers, and I will tell you that this is what they say. Like, as long as it passes, I don't really care. Here's your report. Let's go. So you're probably always cool on conventional unless there's something like the roof is caving in, you have mold, broken glass, like, I mean, something that's like bad. Okay. You're probably fine. FHA, just Google for the county that it's in. Just Google Lane County FHA loan limits or Clackamas County FHA loan limits. There'll be a chart that comes up. It'll show you. That's easy. USDA, if you ever have a question, your lender, like your preferred lender, can plug the address into their database and it will tell them if it qualifies or not. So that would be a way to figure that out. But in most circumstances, it'll go USDA if it's like outside of a major metropolitan area. So.
Thank you, Stephanie. This is really awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And I have one more question too. A couple of days ago, we had an instructor that was talking about pricing homes, and his idea was to not use 9s at all. He was very adamant about, 250, 300, that kind of thing. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it matters in this market because we have no inventory, so it's going to sell.
Okay, thanks.
Supply and demand. I mean, okay, so there's some agents that are gonna, and so here, just to echo what he said, I don't know what he said, but here's what I do know. So on all the major search engines, it's gonna probably only let you search in like terms of round numbers, right? So it'll be up to like 250 to 260 to 270 to 80 to whatever, okay? Fine. However, all of these search engines, they're all using AI, right? So if you go in there and you start looking at a house in West Salem or something, right? It's going to just start sending you all the other houses in West Salem, regardless of if they have a 9 in them or not, right? Because that's the purpose of the site. So I think in a market that we're in right now with really low inventory, it's probably not a numerology conversation. It's probably more just like price it where it probably makes sense and it's going to sell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I have one more too.
Yeah.
So I am just now getting access to RMLS, it looks like, today. So when I go through to make this my first time to do it, a CMA for my first time officially, is there something else I can use to like walk through this? Because I know I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, what did Stephanie say to do here and here? Is that something that like when I finally do one, just reach out to Mara and say, hey, I'm doing a CMA. Can I screen share with you real quick or something like that?
Say, I really like Stephanie. Can I have her number and talk to her?
Okay. All right.
Happy
Thank
to
you.
help no matter what. So just let Mara know or me know. And yeah, and that's the deal with like KW, right? Like, so if you're trying to like do your first deal, I mean, just call one of us, have us go with you or have us look over everything before you go present it. And I mean, there's been some agents in the past where they'll prepare it. I'll meet with them, go have lunch with them and be like, okay, I love what you did. And then I'll just go over it with them as though I was doing it with the seller. And that way it just gives you the script of like what to say. And then I also at the same time will give you my objection. And this is just the objection that I know that the seller is going to have. And then I'll just tell you how to counter that.
Right.
Perfect.
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have a quick question. Will you get a seller that wants a specific finance to whether will they be specific on I only want conventional, I only want FHA, I only want or does it matter?
Nah.
The sellers.
The only time you're gonna get most of the time sellers have no idea what you're talking about. As the agent, you want to know what to put on there, but no, a seller, as long as they get the money, they're going to get the same amount of money if they have a conventional offer or a cash offer or FHA. It really doesn't matter. I think that's the biggest thing. And like, so in the event you're evaluating 6 different offers on a house, so strongest is cash, second strongest is conventional. USDA and FHA are kind of neck and neck. FHA is probably stronger because it does require a down payment versus the USDA that doesn't. But a seller doesn't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, your stronger buyer is the one that has money. If they have money and they've got more skin in the game, they're a stronger purchaser. It doesn't really matter. And then the other thing is if they have, let's say they're going conventional, they've got even 10% down. Well, they've got a little money. So if something goes sideways, chances are they have access to more money or they can go figure out where to get it. So they're going to be able to figure out how to pay for a roof or pay for a electrical problem or whatever the case may be, versus your buyer that's USDA, they literally have no money. They're not trying to front here. They have no money. Okay. So they can't figure out how to figure out the situation. So a lot of times they'll just terminate because they have no money. So that's, I mean, I guess how I would cancel my seller on what the strongest offer is going to be.
What if you see like you're going through, a bunch of homes and you see one that says cash only? Is that like a big red flag saying that they know it's not going to, the inspection's not going to go through? Or what do you think when you see cash only?
I think probably there's an issue that would preclude it from financing. So what comes to mind would be like probably a foundation issue. Maybe it needs a roof. Maybe there's mold. Maybe could be a number of things, but it's probably something along those lines. Oftentimes I will just pick up the phone and call and ask the agent, what is the deal? And then I'll figure out if there's a way that we could make it financeable.
Okay.
Stephanie, are we staying on with you until 4 or is Mara coming back?
No, you guys are excused unless you have more questions.
Oh, okay. What kind of dog do you have?
He's a very restless dog, I think, right now.
I have a question. This is Karen.
Aw, sweetheart.
Yes.
Oh,
Hans and I are ready. We're ready.
Oh, oh, he's great. Is it a Springer Spaniel?
No, he's a German short hair.
He's cute.
Oh, what was the question?
Here's dogs on Zooms, you know.
Oh.
Dogs on Zoom. Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie, it's Karen.
Yes.
So I'm doing a CMA and I try to just go back to 3 months for solds and stay within either a quarter mile or a half a mile of the property. So if there's not enough, there aren't enough comparables, what do you increase first? Your mile radius or your your time, like 6 months, 9 months, whatever.
In a market like we're in today, I'd probably go further in distance than I would
Okay.
back in time, because I think that things have prices have gone up. I mean, they're going up like 9.6% a year. So if we chunk that down to like per month, I mean, if you go back in time, you might actually get a number that's like too low, distance, it doesn't really matter. And it's like, again, it's back to that whole supply and demand conversation, right? Like I have buyers that tell me they want to buy in a certain part of town. Well, when they can't find something in a certain part of town, they will very quickly go to a different part of town. You know what I mean? So like the same buyer is going to, it just shows you what that buyer is going to pay. They might just choose a new area, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Anything
I have
else?
one more too. Somebody asked earlier in the thread here that I wanted to just kind of confirm, because I've heard this too. Are closing costs generally about 3% of sales price?
I mean, ish. But so here's what makes that up. So it's usually there's a loan origination. Well, for the buyer anyway, there's a loan origination fee, and that is usually like 1 to 2% of the loan amount. So not the sales price, the loan amount, which is going to be different for FHA versus conventional versus whatever, right? So there's that. Then typically the buyer has to have a year's worth of taxes and insurance in a reserve account. So that's what sometimes makes them to be really high in areas where your taxes are super high, right? So if your taxes are $7,000, your closing costs are probably going to be like 15,000, because you have to have a year's worth of taxes, a year's worth of insurance, and then the loan origination fee and all the other title company fees. So that's on the buyer side. On the seller side, it's usually their prorated taxes. And remembering that our tax year runs from July 1 to June 30th. We get billed in November, but the actual year is July 1 to June 30th. So when we receive our bill, we're already July, August, September, October, November, 5 months into the new tax year. And fun fact, if you want to know why we do it that way, it's because Oregon and especially Lane County was really big on agriculture. So way back in the day, all of the farmers, the taxes would be assessed in July, but they couldn't pay them until after they had harvested their crops and sold everything. So they didn't have their money till November, and that's why we do it that way. And we've just never changed. So that is why, if anyone ever asks you. So a lot of times, like selling this time of year, it's very expensive because they're now 5-6 months into.
Oh, you broke up.
Like fees, but no matter what type of title company you use, the escrow fees have to be the same because those are federally regulated. So it really doesn't matter what title company you close at; it's going to be the same fees.
I've heard that you can kind of barter loan origination fees, though. Is that true? Like kind of shopping around different loan companies. Some will do like 1, some 1.5, some quote you 2, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I would say it's just service, right? Like, so it's kind of the same as like realtors, right? Like you've got some realtors that'll offer discount fees. You also get discount service. Some lenders will offer a discount fee. But again, it's going to, so those that'll offer a really low origination fee are probably like an online lender. There's not going to be a whole lot of communication with the client. They're going to get a great rate, but they're not going to really know what they're doing. The client, anyway. The lender will. They'll do a fine job, but they're not going to hold their hand. So.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. This has been great.
Anything else?
Thanks very much. Out of here.
Okay. Well,
thank you.
thanks for
Very good
Mr. Hans
information.
here.
Bye, puppy. Oh, there's the yawn.
He's over it.
Always the yawn.
Okay, well, I'm here. If you guys need anything, I'm happy to help with your CMAs. I'm happy to help with whatever you need. Let me know.
Thanks, Stephanie. You're awesome. How long have you been doing real estate again? Did I hear 14 years?
I think so, yeah.
And you started out of high school?
I was 18, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Well, that's awesome. I could tell you're very passionate and you love it.
I do.
Energy.
And everybody in town knows her.
Unfortunately, yeah, it's true. So,
I have a question.
yeah.
I was kind of debating between appraisal and real estate because I know eventually I always wanted to kind of how the house is built in and how they kind of scoring it down, what a structure is a structure, how they look at it, and then when they built it and whatever the reason. I kind of wanted to do a appraisal also. Is it really difficult to become an appraisal?
Well, okay. I think as far as like, do you have to be smart? No, I think you have to be just as smart as you have to be a realtor, which is not that smart. I think the hard part is guys, frankly, you got to go to school longer to cut hair than sell real estate. Okay, let's just be real. So, I mean, for an appraiser, I think the hard part is you actually have to have like an apprentice program. And I do believe you have to have, I think it's a bachelor's degree in something in order to be an appraiser. Whereas realtor, you don't have to have any sort of degree. So the tough part, especially right now, is the appraisers are so backed up. While having an apprentice would be a great idea, like just to have more appraisers in the field, and it's probably a good thing to do, they're just too busy to take on an apprentice and try to train them right now, because again, they're bombarded with orders. And remember, interest rates right now are like 2.8%. So it's not just purchases, but it's refis too. So they are slammed for slammed. So the last thing they want is somebody following them around all day that they have to talk to and can't bang through their work. So I think that's really why it's hard to get into appraising. And I think you have to do it for like 3 years.
So let's say if I'm starting at the same time with the real estate, do you think that in 3 years it will be a little less crumpled? Is it like less like I have someone else to like being trained, or is it still going to be same situation like this?
You need to go make a friend as an appraiser if that's what you want to do, because no one's going to just take you off the street.
Of course not.
So, well, I mean, I'm shooting straight with you. Like, if you want to be an appraiser, you need to go make a friend with an appraiser and be like, hey, I'd like to do what you do. Will you mentor me? And then there needs to be something in it for them, because like most of them are not just going to say, oh, cool, I'll take an apprentice. Like, it's a pain in the rear to do that. So they're not going to do it. And I'm telling you that because I have a number of people that have attempted to do that. And unless the only company in Eugene, and we have a whole bunch of them, the only one that will even consider apprentices is Duncan and Brown. That's it. All the other ones will not take you unless you were their sister or something and they had a vested interest in your success.
I have one more question. You probably don't need to do this anymore, but say in the beginning, or just, as far as what you've heard, as far as like lead generation goes and like actually paying for it, are there any sort of, websites or companies out there that are actually worth the money? Or?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question because I don't know how to get to the lead generation. I have no clue. I just got my license on last Thursday, which is not even 5 days.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm glad you're here. That's awesome. So, I mean, okay, so yeah, you can get leads, like you can pay for them, right? So, I mean, there's Zillow leads, you can buy them off of other websites. Like there's a lot of different ways to do that. Internet leads, your conversion rate statistically is going to be 1 to 3%. So it's pretty low. Your conversion rate on like your friends, family, and a referral is over 50%. So you are far better off, and it's going to be a lot less expensive to just work your sphere and database and go to Costco on Saturday and run into everybody you know for free than it is to go buy leads. And the internet leads, they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. And so they are cheating on you. And so like, whereas your friends, family, or referral, they probably do know you, they do like you, they do trust you, and they're probably not going to stab you in the back unless you didn't do a good job for them, you know? But the internet leads, like you're going to pay money for them and they're really not that loyal. So, but I mean, you know, like open houses would be a great way to meet people. Honestly, just like working your sphere. And I totally get that in the age of COVID, that's a little bit harder. Like, when I started, I went to every Tupperware party, baby shower, anything I was invited to, and Costco on Saturday, like, because I knew that that would be an opportunity for me to run into 35 people that I probably wouldn't have picked up the phone and called, but they likely could have a referral for me, or they would just remember that I am in real estate. That looks like a Vishla.
Yes. I wanted to show you. I don't want to go. Yeah. Look at my German short-haired pointer, though.
Oh.
We had her for 14 years, and she passed last year, but it reminded me of her when I saw your baby.
Well, I can only hope I get him for 14 years, this guy.
Yeah, our new generation is this Vishla.
Aw, so sweet. So sweet. So cool.
But good
yeah,
because I've been in
here. It's cheaper. It's cheaper to do that. Go to the dog park.
Yeah. That's what I'm finding. I've been doing it I got my license 2 months ago, and I am touching, I went out to all the different, local businesses and introduced myself. I'm calling expireds. I'm just going through the growing pains of, okay, what's going to stick and what feels right. And yeah, so it's nice to see your energy and that it actually works once you find what you're good at.
Yeah.
So I'm only been here like a couple months, and then where I get studies, like starting studies for real estate. So it took me 3 months to study, and like here I am, so I got it. And since I moved not even that long, I have literally no one that I know. Even when I was in different states, I was very like introverted, so I don't have anyone like I can consider. In that case, what would you suggest?
You're going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Like, for example?
Well, I mean, you're going to have to get out there and meet people.
Okay.
So, I mean, I would say, and I just say comfortable being uncomfortable. If you're really introverted, you're going to have to be very extroverted in order to go out and meet people. And that's not going to be fun. But if you're going to try to grow your database, then that's probably one of the best ways that you can do that. The other way that you'd be able to do that, if you don't really want to go out and meet people, is, I mean, maybe for you, it's calling expireds, or it's calling for sell by owners, or it's, doing like cold calling to like buyer leads, that kind of thing. But again, you'll have to pick up the phone and make the calls and, really put yourself out there. So, I mean, I would either find something that you're genuinely like interested in and then go join a group. And that way, I mean, people are going to like you, like they're going to know you, they'll like you, they'll trust you, they'll get to know you. So maybe you're passionate about something, like there's a hobby, like you like painting, or learning a new language, or pottery, or hiking. I don't know, like whatever you're into, right? Like go find a group that does that. And then as long as you share a common interest, I think you'll certainly make, new friends that will turn into clients and a referral source for you. But again, like honoring the fact that you are stating that you're more introverted, maybe then just picking up the phone and making cold calls is going to be like easier for you to do. I don't know.
All right. Thank
It's up to you. Yes.
I know it is up to me, but I just wanted to have a kind of like a basic idea, or kind of like where I'm going to starting off. What is the like beginning of point?
Well, either go make some friends and do it in like a type of a group, or where you guys all like share a common interest, and you're not just in there trying to sell yourself, but like you're there for because you all like to hike, or you all like to paint, or whatever it is, right? And go have a group like that. Or if you cold called 100 people a day, like someone's gonna say yes, right? And just understand that when you do that, like someone's gonna of a let's say 10 people, right, that you just pick up the phone and call because they were expired listings or whatever, 3 of them are gonna tell you to F off. 2 of them aren't gonna answer the phone. A couple of them are maybe gonna engage in conversation, and 1 of them's gonna say, yes, I want to sell my house. So you're gonna have to put up with a fair amount of rejection in order to get that one yes. Now, the one yes is going to earn you a $15,000 paycheck. So, I mean, maybe you want to take that abuse. I don't know. That's up to you, right? Like, but again, for an introvert, taking the abuse of having that many people tell them, no, I don't like you, I don't want to talk to you. Sometimes that's easier for you as an introvert than it would be to go join a group and have to be extroverted for 2 hours, right? So, I mean, that's where you make that call.
I mean, I can be extroverted, not like super overly joyful, but whatever.
You look joyful to me. I would be your friend. Like, I think you could do this.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you can. I think you do know, and I think you can. So I would try that, and then maybe as a backup, maybe do some of the cold calls. But just know, like, you're gonna face some rejection.
I mean, I kind of getting used to with being rejection over the phone, because my previous job, I had to be on the phone like literally 6 hours, not related to real estate, but I get cussed, like they like screaming at me.
Okay, so then you're used to it. This would be great. Yeah.
I got used to it at the same time. I'm like, it makes me cry every day.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you might have to cry every day, but
I literally cry every day. I'm like, I had to hand my phone over to my manager. I'm like, can you deal with that? Because I don't want to cry out like a baby.
Right.
Yeah, it's just that would be another kind of fear for me. Like, what if I get the same feeling? But I mean, if I find a group that I can enjoy, then especially this time it's really difficult because of COVID. I can't really go out anywhere.
Well, and that's where I'm saying it makes this awkward, right? The COVID thing. So
yeah, because I moved here right after a little COVID, and then like I had to like move everything, and it changes so much that where my comfort zone, and it was kind of difficult for me to start all over, which I don't mind starting all over. As long as I can do it, I will do it, which I did. So that's why I got my license. And it only kind of puts me back, like, I don't know anybody. Where am I getting? Do I pay for the lead, or how can I get? And there's a lot of people saying, like, I know these people. I know so many people. I did this. I'm like, always put me behind, like, well, I don't know anybody. I can't really, my like barrier, my boundary is really, really limited. And it just makes it really difficult. And it just put me on a really like, I can't do. What am I going to do? That would be could put me on the back, like maybe I should, but I like, where? How? So this general like direction, that's probably what I needed first.
Yeah. Yeah, either of those ways. I think those are both ways that you'll be able to get there. But you know, and really probably I just try them both and see what you're more comfortable with.
True. True.
Yeah. So cool. Okay, well,
All right.
It's been a pleasure, everybody. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so
And
much.
I am here if you need anything.
Okay, and if I need any question, if I have anything, I will ask my coach to ask your number or like contact information.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll do that then.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Okay.
All
See
right.
you.
Bye.